Confronting the Impenetrable, Captain Jenna Riker stood before the shimmering energy barrier, her jaw clenched in frustration. The dome encasing the alien stronghold shone in eerie purple, mocking the assembled Earth forces. "Status report," she barked. Lieutenant Xander Quill consulted his scanner. "No effect, Captain. Plasma artillery, neutron bombs, focused graviton beams. Nothing we hit it with even scratches the surface." Jenna shook her head in disbelief. When the Zorian Empire invaded the Orion sector, the Earth Defense Coalition had mobilized to stop their advance. The human fleet scored victory after victory, until they reached the Zorian command post on planet Nexus. Its location was no secret. The Zorians didn't bother hiding, because they didn't need to. Scans indicate the barrier could withstand a supernova at point-blank range, Xander said grimly. "It appears to be an impenetrable force field, Captain." "I don't believe in impenetrable, Lieutenant," Jenna replied. "Everything has a weakness. We just need to find this one's Achilles heel." Uncovering alien secrets. Deep underground in Sanctuary Base, hidden in an anonymous desert on Earth, a clandestine research team pored over fragments of recovered Zorian technology. Dr. Eliza Singh, the base's lead scientist, hunched intently over an alien power converter. The crystalline matrix channels some type of exotic particles, she explained to her colleague, gesturing at glowing filaments inside the device. "If we can replicate the quantum resonance frequency, we should be able to boost the yield of our fusion reactors tenfold." Her associate, Dr. Ari Sorensen, nodded as he soldered circuits into a prototype capacitor. Their work was critical to the war effort. Every possible insight into Zorian capabilities inched humanity closer to victory. Across the lab, another researcher called out in excitement. "Dr. Singh, check this out. I finally decrypted the data core we captured." Lines of alien code streamed across his display. Eliza rushed over, her eyes widening as she scanned the data. "This is it," she breathed. "Schematics for their force field on Nexus. Look here, it's not a single barrier. There's a whole network of generators underground drawing power from a central reactor complex." She tapped hurried notes into her wristcom. "If we can map this network, find a way to access it, we might have a chance of taking that force field down." The crazy human plan. Captain Riker strode into the Coalition wardroom, the doors sliding shut behind her with a pneumatic hiss. Senior officers stood around the central holoprojector displaying the gleaming dome that enshrouded their objective. "All right, people, I need options," Jenna said curtly. "We can't bypass that damn force field. We can't go through it. And we don't have time to wait for the eggheads back home to science up a solution. So how do we crack this nut?" Uneasy glances flickered between the assembled soldiers and strategists. They had the finest military minds, the most advanced weaponry humanity ever fielded, and so far none of it had mattered. The Zorian barrier remained unbreached. From the back of the room, a nasally voice piped up. "We could go under it." Head swiveled to identify the speaker, a lanky, bespectacled man wearing rumpled civilian clothes that contrasted sharply with the crisp uniforms filling the room. Dr. Nadim Bari, an unassuming physicist, was not a regular fixture at military briefings. Jenna arched an eyebrow. "Come again." Nadim cleared his throat. "We go under the force field. Literally. Our friends in R&D decoded Zorian schematics indicating the barrier draws power from geothermal reactors accessed by subsurface tunnels. In theory, a small team could infiltrate the network, hack the reactor controls, and, well, turn the Zorians' own defenses against them." He made a vague exploding gesture with his hands. Skeptical mutters rippled through the room. Taking down a fortress by tunneling leagues underground and hijacking alien reactors. It sounded like the fevered ramblings of a madman, not a battle plan. Only Jenna looked intrigued. This was the outside-the-box option they needed, or more precisely, under it. Sure, the odds of success hovered near zero. The technical challenges were immense. It would require a mission impossible level of planning, precision, and no small amount of luck. But it was, Jenna had to admit, a very human plan. Audacious, innovative, more than a little crazy. Humans had a knack for making crazy work. She clapped a hand on Nadim's shoulder. Dr. Bari, I like the way you think. Let's assemble a team and brief them on Operation Achilles, infiltration and improvisation. Sergeant Marco Santos wiped sweat from his eyes, squinting at the alien control panel pulsing with unfamiliar signals. His suit's exoskeleton whirred gently as he shifted position, bracing against the curving walls of the power junction. Around him stretched a cathedral-like chamber of organic curves and shimmering conduits, lit by the cold glow of banked plasma fires. The air tasted of ozone and strangeness. I thought you said you could hack this thing. He called over to specialist Tanya Ivanov. The team's resident tech wizard hunched before the panel, a tangle of optic cables running from her wrist display to the alien ports. In my defense, I've never seen tech this advanced, Tanya replied, not looking up from lines of code flashing across her lenses. I'm pretty much making this up as I go. Marco shook his head ruefully. Story of my life, he thought. Improvise, adapt, try not to get vaporized by angry aliens. All in a day's work for Earth's first and last line of defense. He and Tanya were the tip of the spear for Operation Achilles, the last best hope for breaching the Zorian barriers. Guided by data hijacked from the alien network, their team had covertly tunneled beneath the force field perimeter, cutting through layers of bedrock with experimental plasma drills. The going was slow and treacherous, every moment risking detection by the Zorians. Now, if they could just trick this alien system into granting access, convince it that they belonged here. A shout of triumph from Tanya interrupted Marco's musings. I'm in, she crowed, hands dancing over her wrist display as arcane alien holograms flared to life around them. We've got full access to the reactor net. Diverting power flows now. Marco felt a grin tug at the corner of his mouth. One impossible thing down. Just a few more to go. Turning the tables. Captain Jenna Riker watched the shimmering dome intensely, projecting an outward calm she did not feel. Around her, the coalition armies tensed with anticipation, every eye, scanner, and weapon trained on the Zorian stronghold. The infiltration team was overdue for a check-in. Had they been detected, captured, atomized by some exotic alien trap? Jenna refused to contemplate the implications of failure. This had to work. It was their last, best hope. There, the force field rippled, its perfect surface shivering like a pond in a breeze. Jenna leaned forward. Report. Energy readings from the barrier are fluctuating, came the reply. Strength down 5%, 10%, 15%. A fierce, proud smile tugged at Jenna's lips. They were doing it. Impossibly, improbably. Her scratch team of soldiers and scientists were hacking the unhackable, turning the Zorians' own defenses against them. But the celebration was short-lived. The force field stabilized, its opalescent glow taking on an angry red tint. Flickers of lightning danced across its surface. We've got incoming, shouted a sensor tech. Multiple bogies rising from beneath the shield. Zorian drones. They're heading right for the tunnel breach. They know. Jenna felt her blood run cold. If the drones sealed the breach, if they stopped the infiltration team. The force field pulsed like an angry god rousing from slumber. It flashed blinding white, searing Jenna's eyes even through the filters of her helmet. She blinked away retinal ghosts, to see the shimmering dome shatter like glass. Fracture lines raced across its surface, the cracks glowing with the fires of uncontrolled energies. With a final pulse, a wave of unleashed power rippling out like a nova shock, the force field exploded. A kaleidoscope of colors and unlight danced where the impenetrable barrier once stood. As the glare faded, the Zorian stronghold lay bare, exposed, vulnerable. All units. Jenna paused, heart pounding in her ears at the precipice of history. A take. The human ingenuity advantage. Smoke and strange fires filled the once pristine halls of the Zorian citadel. Captain Jenna Riker strode through the chaos, sidearm drawn, scanning for any lingering resistance. But the fight had gone out of the aliens with their shattered force field. The proud Zorian warriors, their finely crafted weapons and armor scorched with battle damage, threw down their arms and surrendered to the victorious human forces. Jenna holstered her blaster as Tanya and Marco emerged from a side passage, their infiltration team battered but triumphant. Impulsively, she threw her arms around them in a fierce hug. "You magnificent bastards," she whispered. "You did it." Marco patted her armored back awkwardly. "Hey, you know us crazy humans, we don't much like being told something's impossible." A curious strategy, came a melodious, multi-tone voice. Jenna turned to see a tall Zorian, its elegantly sculpted features somehow conveying an academic interest despite the alienness. "You defeated our defenses by overloading them, channeling their power against themselves. Most species seek to smash through barriers, but you transmuted ours." Tanya shrugged. "Brute force is all well and good, but where humans really shine, ingenuity, creativity, and novel applications of tech. Why fight the force field when we could befriend it?" The Zorian tilted its head. "Intriguing. I begin to understand how your species has advanced so far, so quickly." It paused, as if assessing. "Perhaps in time, we will learn from this example. Grow as you have." Jenna met the alien's swirling eyes, a glimmer of hope sparking in her heart. If the notoriously isolationist Zorians could learn to see humans as more than upstart primitives. She squared her shoulders, resolve crystallizing into purpose. This was more than a victory for the coalition. Perhaps, in some small but profound way, it was a turning point for the galaxy itself. A first step on a path toward a day where ingenuity would build bridges between stars, not just break barriers. Jenna motioned for her soldiers to begin securing the base. There was much yet to do, many battles yet to fight. But she walked with a lightness in her step as, around her, a glorious future unfolded, forged by the audacious genius of the human spirit.